Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Haley Estes at the Mountain View Cottage is where you're finding me, and you can find me at the same handle all across social media. Today I'm bringing you another homeschooling video, and it is a curriculum haul for the 2023-2024 school year. This is a fun one and kind of a weird one because I'm going to be sharing with you all of the things that I have brought into my home to teach history this year. This is kind of weird because I'm not sure exactly what I'm officially going to be using. I signed up for the CMEC, and so some of these suggestions are from the CMEC, but I also really love some of the things we used last year, so I'm incorporating the next lessons for the next school year this year, and we're just gonna kind of do some testing of the waters at the beginning of the school year and figure out what we actually want to use. And I think that's okay. I don't have it totally figured out. I never will as a mother, especially as a homeschool mom. And so I'm just gonna be upfront with you. I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna use, but these are the products that I am bringing into my home and I'm gonna share with you today. And I will tell you why as we go through them a little bit more detailed, why I've chosen them and what we're using and so on and so forth. So let's dive into our history picks. The first one is the one that I am probably most likely going to use. We used the Story of the World last year. It is a wonderful history curriculum. It's very much more like classical or Charlotte Mason inspired curriculum. And I really just loved how simple it was to get through. Each chapter, I am mistaken, this is a classical style history curriculum. It says right on here, the classical child. Anyway, so this is The Story of the World by Susan Weisbauer, and it's a history for the classical child, the revised edition. And one of the reasons we love this, we used this last year, we used the Orange book. This is the Middle Ages, the Renaissance. So here's a chapter, for example, chapter 23. So chapter 20, and each chapter has subchapter, like subsections. So the scattering of the Jews is only about a page and a half, or it's about 2 pages, but there's pictures and stuff in between. And we would do that as one lesson a day. And it just worked out so well, and it was very bite-sized. It was enough information. My children were learning amazing things about history, but it wasn't like throwing so much information at them that they were just like, whew, you know. And I think that we love the Charlotte Mason homeschooling style, and it's probably more what we lean towards, but sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. So we incorporated the Story of the World with Living Books read-alouds last year, and it was just a really amazing experience with history. My kids all love history, and I just, of all the history curriculums that we've used, which we've used The Good and the Beautiful, we've used Not Grass history, which I loved. I just wish there were some different eras that we could have studied. I just didn't want to study other things after we did the United States or the history of America. So that's why we tried the Story of the World last year, and it just worked so great for us. So we are going to use it again this year. And part of me is kind of torn between using this and then sticking with some of the curriculum from the CMEC suggestions, because I do love that living history. But that's kind of where we're at with the Story of the World. Some of the books that kind of coincide, well, let me just share the main spine of our history curriculum, and then I'll share some of the read aloud books and the picture books that I'm pairing with it. So the next thing I have is some American history. So it's the landmark history of the American people. So we have already studied American history 2 years ago as a family. We used Not Grass history. I loved that curriculum, and I highly recommend it. And we're going to do this year. And we're also breaking this up into very bite-sized pieces. So here is chapter 7. We will go through chapter 7, and I'll read chapter 7 with my kids. But I have some concerns that these are lengthier chapters. Like, each page has a ton of writing. This is probably double or triple what is in the Story of the World, and there's not like subheadings, so it's very easy to break one big chapter up into smaller days of lessons. like it is with the story of the world. So I'm just going to kind of play around with this. We're going to do both because I still want to teach American history to my children 1 day a week. I think we're going to do it on Wednesdays. So I do think we will incorporate this, but I don't expect to get through this whole school year. Throughout the school year, I feel like we're going to just take it in small chunks, kind of day by day, so that it's not too overwhelming for my kids. So The Landmark History of the American People, From Charleston to the Moon by Daniel J. Borstein and Ruth F. Borston. That is another spine we will use for American history. The next thing is Richard Halliburton's Book of Marvels, The Orient. So this is going to take you through the climb, the Great Pyramid, the search for the Ark of the Covenant beneath Jerusalem, fly a prince over Iraq, hide in the Taj Mahal for a night, climb Mount Fuji, explore lost cities, and so much more. So this is diving into a different location in history, and once again, we're just going to kind of take this in bite-sized pieces. I don't expect to get through all of that, and I think it's really important that as you watch any of my curriculum hauls, aside from like math and English language arts, I don't expect to get through everything front to back. We are going to taste things and sample them throughout the year. We will work this into probably 1 day a week, and we've already done some history of the pyramids and the Egyptians and stuff, and so anyway, this book is not as vibrant and bright as some of the other books. It's very black and white. It is a lot of text, and so for those reasons, I just know that it's not going to be feasible for us to get through each chapter to finish the book, because I like to just break it down smaller for my kids. So we'll just kind of see where we land each day and what I feel like my children's attention span is as we go. So this will be one of those things that I'll be interested to update with you later and let you know how it goes throughout the school year. And then this is Africa by Nellie B. Allen. So this is another portion of history we'll be going into this year. And it's also, you know, just larger chapters. There's suggestions for study are the seasons of the Southern Hemisphere, British possessions of South Africa, surface and climate, and irrigation. So, you know, in this chapter, that was the suggestions for study in the last chapter. But anyway, we're going to just take this book in bite-sized pieces as well and just kind of go through it and learn more about Africa and the history of Africa. We already did British history last year. We read pretty much the entire book of the story of our world, which was wonderful, and so this kind of is replacing that for us this year by going through to Africa. Those are kind of the spines of our history this year, and like I said, I have a whole plan laid out, but it's a very loose plan, and I'm going to have a whole nother video where I talk to you about how I plan my homeschool year. I think you'll probably find it super helpful, at least I hope you will. I will kind of go through how we plan things out and how I break down these books into bite-sized chunks for the daily learning that we're doing. But now I'm going to dive into all of the picture books and all of the read-alouds for our history study this next year. These are the things that I'm super excited for. So we have 2 history read-alouds this year. The first one is The Little Duke by Charlotte M. Young with an N-G-E at the end. So that will be one of them. The next one is one that was highly recommended and I'm excited to dive into with my kids, which is Otto of the Silver Hand, written and illustrated by Howard Pyle. We will do this one. I think my kids are really going to love this. We read another book that was suggested by the CMEC last year, which was A Door in the Wall. So we won't be doing it this year because we did it last year. But that's another great one that will kind of go along with the Renaissance and the medieval timeline. The next thing is a picture book, and it is Joan of Arc by Demi. Just kind of like a look inside. Some cool illustrations in here. The next one is another picture book, which is Marguerite Makes a Book. Another thing, and I gleaned this information just from my own personal beliefs and then also just from other homeschooling moms who share things, just like how important it is to continue to use picture books with your kids as they get older. So I have children that range in from 6th grade down to kindergarten this year, and picture books often have very rich language and they tell a full story in a shorter period of time with beautiful art. And there's just no reason to stop using picture books when your kids get older, because there's so much great information in picture books, and it's often good picture books, at least, don't always have juvenile language. They have beautiful language. So these books are examples of that. So Marguerite Makes a Book by Bruce Robertson, illustrated by Catherine Hewitt. This is another really popular one for this period of time in history, which is Leif the Lucky by the Ingrid and Edgard Perrin de Allaire. I'm butchering that, I apologize, but this will be a fun one. There are some really cool illustrations in here. The next one I am probably the most excited about. We have done lots of studying of birds, and we love wild birds at our house. And I have like 8 bird feeders to encourage birds to come visit us. So this is a bird book, and I have a son who really loves hawks and falcons. So this is the Hawk of the Castle, and really, really beautiful illustrations in this book that are just super detailed. So this will be one of the books we read. And then the last thing that I have for history is a very Charlotte Mason suggestion, which is to keep a timeline or a book of centuries. So my kids will each have one of these. I have all of theirs right here in front of me. And this is basically creating your own unique record of history. So as we read things throughout the year, regardless of what subject it's in, if we come across a date and a history example of history, we will write it in our book of centuries. So I liked this particular book. It's from Amazon because of the way that it's organized. I felt like it was organized very well. So from 2000 to 1976 BC, you can write in people, wars and events, discoveries, literature, music, and art. So I just felt like it was well organized. I did not pick a book of centuries that allowed for a lot of art and drawing, because this is really just a timeline, and we will incorporate our use narration notebooks, which is also a Charlotte Mason suggestion, to narrate some of the things they're learning in history, and to keep a record of those illustrations in an art book. So those are my history picks for the school year. I know this is kind of a weird video because I know what I'm doing as we jump into the year, but I don't know how it's going to go. So there's a very good chance that I may say, you know what? We're just going to do the story of the world and the read aloud books. For sure we're doing the read aloud books and the story of the world. I just am not sure about all the other stuff. I think it will just kind of depend on how everything goes, but we will do everything in bite-sized pieces and make sure that it's actually like actual learning is happening, and it's not too overwhelming for my kids, because there's a lot of information in these books, and I want it to be enjoyable and not just like drudgery. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I upload every single Thursday. I have so many awesome homeschooling videos already on my channel, with so many more coming. And I am a large family mom who is managing lots of kids in our home, and I share tips and tricks on that too if you're interested. If you want more behind the scenes looks where I share more about our foster care journey and just everyday life and what I'm cooking for dinner and things like that, please follow me on Instagram. I'm at the Mountain View Cottage. There is a period in between each word. Thanks for being here. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you next week on Thursday.